Hey, welcome to the Cellercise family. Boy, you guys are really creating kind of a revolution. I hope you're feeling well and doing well. Wanted to extend my blessings to each one of you who are going through challenges during the holiday season. And our prayers, our thoughts, and our efforts are going to be in your behalf. Also want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, and for the rest of you, very happy holidays. So with that, what we're going to do tonight is talk a little bit about the characteristics of a trifold Cellerciser, a little difference about the Cellerciser itself. We're going to read some incredible customer reviews. Keep them coming. You know, it makes a difference. I've been doing this now for 30 years. I don't think there's any better form of exercise out there than Cellercise. And if you want to do other exercise, that's great. Go ahead. But if you're doing Cellercise as part of your overall program, you're going to have a better experience. You just will. Cellercise, for those who don't know, it's all weight bearing, not weight lifting. Not working. Is it on now? Mm-hmm. How much did they hear?
They heard it.
Oh, good. Okay. Because I wish everybody happy holiday again. We really want you to have and enjoy a wonderful holiday season as much as we can, and with the conditions that we're faced with. And that's debatable, I know. But one thing about Cellercise, as we're moving up and down, for those that don't, it's like an internal scrub brush. The movement up and down moves the fluid up and down through the body, back flushing valves, opening up capillaries, opening up circulation, increasing oxygen blood flow to the brain, activating the lymphatic system. It's all weight bearing, again, not weight lifting. So the increase of weight is on every muscle all at the same time. Your body grows stronger in a balanced state, not in an imbalanced state. The implications of that in any activity is enormous. And we're going to, during this next year, we're going to be talking more and more about that in the various different activities that you can apply Cellercise to. But for the majority of us, just getting on that Cellercise every day and gently moving up and down challenges our balance and equilibrium. The different movements help to challenge rhythm, timing, dexterity, hand-eye coordination. The different movements that we can do can target the knees, the hips, the back, the shoulders, digestion, elimination processes, cellulite, weight loss, increased metabolism, opening up bronchial tubes and lungs. We're going to talk a little bit about that, because for those of you who are new, a month ago, I had the COVID-19. I've lost two friends. They both died. They're younger than I am from the COVID. So we hear a lot of stories. I don't know what's really true and what isn't true. What I do know is that I think this Cellerciser played a huge role in my recovery quickly, opening up the bronchial tubes and the lungs again, and just feeling 100%. And that's something I want all of you to be able to do too. So if you end up going through this, there are different approaches we can take on the Cellerciser to help mitigate the symptoms and conditions that we're having to deal with concerning the COVID-19. And the bronchial tubes in the lungs, I tell you that what's interesting is when you Cellercise, you increase the ability of the immune system to function more efficiently, recognizing the viruses and the germs and strengthening the cell membrane so they're more resistant, because it's all weight bearing. So as we get on the Cellerciser, and I just want to show this real quick, Brooklyn. When I had the COVID, it was in my lungs, and I had the pneumonia, and I had the fevers, and I wasn't feeling real good. But it wasn't as bad as some people, I'm sure. But I still had to go through it. And so the breathing technique that I would take when I couldn't take a deep breath were just shallow breaths. The movement up and down moves the fluid up and down to help prevent the blood cells from getting sticky, or from hopefully preventing the blood clots from occurring. Because the movement up and down keeps those blood cells separated, oxygenated, and energized. And we can see that underneath microscopes, and we've done that. The breathing technique that I did, which I think really helped, initially were just shallow breaths, because I couldn't take a deep breath. So it would just be in an attempt to just break, and it didn't feel good, but it was an attempt to break up the fluid. And again, about 10, 5 to 10 minutes later, I was getting rid of fluid and out of the lungs, and I felt better, and I could breathe. So there's different ways, I suppose, you could do that. I chose the Cellerciser. And now the bronchial tubes in the lungs, I can take deep breaths, and I'm working my way into seeing how strong I can make the lungs and the bronchial tubes with the Cellerciser, because what I'm about to show you is the technique I designed on the Cellerciser many, many years ago. And it changed the sound of my bronchial tubes in the lungs, and they became very opened up, but initially they were quite wheezy. And that's very common with a lot of people. And if you hear my voice as I'm talking, one of the other perks or advantages of the Cellerciser is it helps to open up the larynx, diaphragmatic breathing, getting to the other 1/3 of the lungs that most people don't get enough oxygen to anyway. And the pumping action helps to activate the lymph system all throughout the chest cavity area, and the pumping action helps to increase the oxygen. So this throughout the bloodstream. So this movement here, phenomenal movement, but go easy on it because it is an exercise, and for a great many people, including me when I began, the bronchial tubes and lungs are going to be a little sensitive when you first begin. So you start off easy. You may only do it half a dozen times when you begin. But it goes like this. And when I'm done, you can hear the difference in the voice. That's just, I'm not changing anything. The diaphragmatic breathing and the opening up the bronchial tubes in the lungs is just it's just wonderful. If you're a radio announcer, a singer, a performer, or your voice is important to you, that really opens things up. So what we're going to do now, we're going to read some of the beautiful customer reviews. We're going to answer some questions. If you have questions, I'd like you to encourage you to go ahead and write them in. Brooklyn is here and she's taking notes, and she can share some of those questions with me. Want to say hi to Sally and Stephanie, and thank you for all the work you're doing in the industry as well, and to thank Christine for supporting us and helping to get these videos edited and out to all of us as soon as possible so we can share it with our family, friends, and health practitioners. All right, so this one, December 13th, from Rick. He says, in the 2 weeks that I've had and used my Cellerciser, I found Dave is exactly right about the health bounce. It looks so simple, so elementary, and yet, no matter how unmotivated I feel morning or evening to do my Cellerciser routine, 15 seconds of the health bounce changes everything. Thank you, Rick. I want to comment on that. I tell people, if you can do nothing more than get up on the Cellerciser, the best wake-up call you can give yourself every morning, I believe, is to get on that Cellerciser for 2 minutes. If you can only do 2 minutes, get on it for 2 minutes. That's what activates the lymph system. That's what stimulates the thyroid and the adrenals. That's what helps to jumpstart the body for the day. It's a great feeling. But after those 2 minutes, you're in a different state anyway. And there's a good chance you're going to want to do more. So he's absolutely right. A second thing the health bounce does psychologically is when I try a new, more intense exercise and get winded or lactic acid buildup, all I have to do is drop into a gentle health bounce and rest and recuperate and know that I am not slacking off but continuing to do something that has a positive impact on my body. And that's true. That's a win-win. At 71, I think we should listen to him. I've gained so much in terms of leg strength and balance, far more than I ever dreamed that first day. And remember, that's exactly what's happening. Moving up and down challenges our vestibular balance. At any age, it has nothing to do with age. We're not born with balance anyway. It's a physiological function. We have to challenge it. We challenge it, we get better at it. Far more than I ever dreamed the first day. It says, I could not bounce on one leg too weak and uncomfortable. My right hip was painful. So I backed off into the health bounce. The next day, hops were less painful. Today, I'm doing 150 hops on each leg straight while holding the other leg as high as I can in front, back, and side. This is strengthening my core, hips, and legs so that in a few weeks or months, I can do kickouts. I saw Dave's suggestion on neck and spine stretches while health bouncing, including the backward lean a few days ago, and I've incorporated all of those. I'm feeling a real difference already. The bicep, tricep combos and chest pull pushes while health bouncing, I've also started. I understand why some folks on Facebook call Cellerciser magic. I also appreciate Dave's positive take on chiropractors. Good chiropractors have helped me over the years. But the problem was I didn't have an efficient way to strengthen the muscles around the rearranged bones to hold them in place. And this is why I work with chiropractors. Now I do. 15 days, 26 sessions. I missed 2 days this week with a bad sinus infection, cold, was in lymph overflow. That can happen. It's going to be a detox too. And I am stronger, more stable, have no lingering hip pain. I haven't lost much weight, but my whole torso is tighter and I keep automatically tucking in my stomach. Good, tighten that stomach. As you build all your protein fibers, every time you apply weight to the protein fibers, all those cells fortify the membrane with more protein because they don't want to rupture. And so your muscle to fat ratio starts to change. Even though it may, your weight may not look like it's changing, usually it is. And it's starting from the inside out because Cellercise isn't working from the outside in like typical exercises often do. Okay, the simplicity of the health bounce also makes it the perfect relaxing exercise. As Dave says, when I'm grading papers and nearly burned out, I can go into the sunroom and bounce for a few minutes, and then I'm ready to go back to grading. Great video. Looking forward to the next 11 days, Rick. Rick, keep us posted. If you have any questions at all, if any of you do, I mean, there's so many different approaches with Cellercise. Cellercise is very helpful at exposing weaknesses. But because it's not jarring, it has resistance, but that's different. It's not jarring. Jarring is how we damage the body. And this is often the case with typical rebounders. They can either be too soft, in which case your feet are pronating and your knees are pronating, and over time your knees get worse and worse and your ankles get worse and worse, and you're wondering what's going on, and you don't realize that as you're jumping up and down, the feet are leveraging the weight against the ligaments and tendons in the knees. If the unit is too stiff or jarring and you alter the angle of your body and you don't have the proper support, that can damage the body as well. The Cellerciser has the tridaptable spring design. It's patented technology. It has a larger diameter in the middle of the spring, a ridge where it tapers, and then another ridge where it tapers again. And the purpose of that is so it doesn't matter whether you're a year old or well over 100. And we've got customers that are all those categories. The Cellerciser can work for everybody. You'll utilize that portion of the spring you need based upon how much you weigh or how high you're jumping. So it's a self-adjusting, adaptable spring design. But more than anything else, it gives results. And after doing this for 30 years, you're hearing some of our customers, some of them 15, 20 years plus, they're sharing with you true-to-life stories and experiences on the Cellerciser. And we want to encourage all of you to continue to do this, and because it makes a difference to those who are listening. All right. Hi, Dave. This is from Fred. Oh, I was watching the live broadcast tonight, and I wasn't able to get on the live one. And when you were discussing the building muscle and showed a live example, it reminded me of Charles Atlas and his exercise system that he developed in the 50s. He never used weights or any other thing to gain his incredible physique and strength. He called his movement the system dynamic tension. I remember it from when my older brother bought Charles Atlas's system in the early 60s, and for some reason that name stuck with me. I did find his course online a long time ago and forgotten about it until recently when you showed your exercise. Here's a screenshot of his one page showing the dynamic tension that you described. Can you imagine what he would look like if he had your Cellerciser? Laugh out loud. Thanks again for a quality product, Fred. Thank you, Fred. All right. This is from Ann. Ann says, I just did a word search on Natural News website for incontinence, and the first article that came up was entitled, Reverse Urinary Incontinence Naturally with a Rebounder. I would put the link up, but his website is banned on Facebook. Anyway, it's not me. Anyway, I thought that was really neat. At the end of the article, the author cautions against cheap rebounders also. My husband and I have been Cellercising since the end of September. He is experiencing much decreased lower back pain, something he's suffered with for years, and increased flexibility. Call me if you have any questions on that, because there are specific movements we can do to help with the back. My incontinence is a little more stubborn, but seems to be getting somewhat better. Cellercise is weight-bearing even on the sphincter muscle that controls bladder and even the sphincter muscle in our stomach area. Patience will prevail. Cynthia. Thank you, Cynthia. Trey writes, a material possession I just can't live without for the last 15 plus years. Thank you, Dave. And from an ex-runner that didn't know what he was going to do when I was forced to stop running because of hip, ankle, knee issues from running. This gorgeous piece of equipment was a godsend for my body, mind, and soul. Bless you. Keep up the great work. And thank you, Trey. And, thank you all for keeping up the great work. You're the ones sharing this. You're the ones making the difference. And I'm grateful to be able to play a part with you.
This person said, my husband gets dizzy rebounding because of the up and down. Do you have any suggestions?
Yes, he's just starting. When you first begin, and this is common with people that have had vertigo as well, I have never personally known anyone who began Cellercising who maintained, and you start off lightly, but within a month still didn't have the vertigo was either, it didn't bother them as long as they continued to Cellercise, or it bothered them very, very little. When we get on a Cellerciser and we start to move up and down, so does all the fluid in our body. The movement up and down also can take the brain, which over time, gravity is always pulling down. The brain can settle in the skull. It gets loose. It sits down. We move up and down, so does the brain. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks for those connective tissues surrounding the brain to firm up through the movement up and down. And then we can do a lot more aggressive movements. But initially, that increase of fluid movement and circulation back to the brain with the brain moving up and down, yeah, that can, that creates a lot, there's several things occurring, including more oxygen and blood flow to the brain through the one-way valves. So no high jumping when you begin, and if you're dealing with those issues. Just gentle movement up and down. Hold on to that balance bar. If you're concerned about it, have somebody there with you. But that movement up and down is going to challenge the balance mechanism, open up and increase circulation. Let me know after 2 to 3 weeks how you feel, if you can be consistent with that. All right. Karen and Cliff. Cliff and I have been super fans of Cellerciser since 2017. We tell everyone that it's the best home exercise equipment out there. We've purchased 3 for our family and have friends considering getting one. We heard something about authorized representatives. Is there something that you can tell us more about that? Yes, if you want to be an affiliate, if you go to our website, Cellercise.com, scroll all the way to the bottom to the link where it says become an affiliate. It will tell you how you can become an affiliate. Once you become an affiliate, you will get a link. And that link is something you can share with your family and friends. When you share your link with your family and friends, say, use this link because you will get the upgraded $40 DVD and the new exercise guide as part of the package at no additional cost. So it's an upgrade. We want to encourage that. We don't advertise that on our site unless it's like a Christmas special or something unique. But you, as an affiliate, can always sell it with the upgraded $40 DVD and that new fold-out exercise guide. So, and what happens is that once they use your link, then if they buy a half-full Cellerciser with a balance bar or just half-full Cellerciser, after 30 days, when the following 30 days, we process checks, and you'll get a check for $40 for a half-full Cellerciser and $50 for a tri-full. It's not a lot, but this is growing, and as it grows, it becomes it's fun, and it's just a way that we can say, hey, let's all be in this together, because we are. So we make that available. We have at least one friend, our physical therapist, who is also planning to order. And I love working with physical therapists, and I've developed a number of routines in conjunction with physical therapists, which are very, very helpful for shoulders, back, knees, hips, and you'll see most of those on our website. But again, if you have that issue, give me a call, or I'd be happy to talk to your doctor to share a program that can be used for consideration. Okay, so this one here is from Ron. Ron says, "Hi Dave, just wanted to thank you for sending me the metal hooks. I placed them in the Cellerciser, is working just great." We had some of the metal hooks, we call them bullhorns on the mat, had actually, I don't know if they got jumped on or if they were weak when they were made, but they bent, and so I don't put up with that, we just sent out some new ones. And if that ever happens, I'll do the same with you. I don't think I would be able to walk without making it my daily routine. That's a big statement. I had poor circulation on my legs to where it was forming brown spots on my lower parts of my legs. The brown spots went away, and it has put circulation back to my legs to where I can walk normally again. I also can literally feel the circulation up in my head when I get to the last 5 minutes of my exercises. I exercise 15 minutes in the morning after I wake up and 15 minutes before I go to bed at night. Without that, I literally would not be able to function. It has also helped me with I think he's got a fibrillator. Helped me with my AFib, and also opening up my lungs to where I can breathe better.
AFib?
AFib, yep.
Atrial fibrillation.
Thank you. Thank you, Brooklyn. Top of her class, by the way. Studying in nursing, proud of her. I hate to exercise, and when my brother brought this Cellercise to the house to exercise, I figured I could do that. The rest is history. Laugh out loud. Thank you once again, my friend. And thank you again to Ron. And did we read this one? This one, I think we read this one here. Rebounding has helped my 4-year-old autistic grandson so much. And we deal a lot with autistic children. And it has been a lifesaver for several people. And it can be challenged, but it's well built. And so if a part were to be broken or a spring were to be broken, everything is replaceable. And sometimes people are jumping pretty hard and pretty high on that, but it's a release, and it helps create balance mentally and I believe chemically as well. Okay, I'm a cancer beater. I love rebounding. I love your videos. Thank you for all you do to help people get and stay healthy. Linda. Thank you, Linda. True story. DMV failed my vision test. A year later, I got an exam, and OD says I don't need glasses. Jacqueline. All right, Jacqueline. Thank you for sharing it. We read that one. Don't know if we read this one. This is, I just want to send a shout out and share how blessed I am that my Cellerciser is always there for me to address anything I need. Pain, tension, aches, soreness, cardio, stretching, strength training, stress, and the list goes on and on. It's my non-human best friend and one of my top 5 must-haves in life. I agree with that. I'm so thankful that I never have to go a day without it and have been happily united since 6/4/20. I mean, I changed my name for it and everything. My name is Jenna, and I'm proud to be part of the Cellerciser family. And she changed her name from, looks like, Soleil. But thank you for sharing that, guys. Wow. Okay, there's our questions. Got one more. This last week, people often ask me, about the bungee cord units, and we're going to talk a little bit about it right now. And we've got people that we've adopted into the Cellerciser family that use bungee cords, and I'm not here to disparage it. That's not my objective. I'm here to help you understand there is a difference, though, and in the support and the kind of things that you can do with it. So we had an incredible customer who really took it upon herself to demonstrate and exercise on a Bellicon and then do the same thing on a Cellerciser. She's given us permission to put her video up. And so we have a video that we'll be putting up on our website. But I wanted to read to you a little bit about what she had to share. And the whole purpose of this is just to make sure that you have the support you need, you don't injure yourself, and you have a good experience. Because some of the movements that we do on a Cellerciser are probably not very appropriate or supported well on this case. It's a Bellicon. It says, "Good morning, y'all. I just want to take a moment to do a real unsolicited and unbiased experience of Bellicon versus Cellerciser, and I've already tried jump sport next to Cellerciser when I didn't know if I was going to go bungees or springs, and already narrowed down the springs option to Cellerciser, but felt I needed to compare them together to make a fully informed decision. If Dave Hall Cellercise never existed, I said I'd choose jump sport, and that was before getting my hands on a Bellicon this week, Marketplace. I still stand by Jump Sport 550 as the top bungee option, and that's because I could adjust the bungees to come close enough to my Cellerciser to find it is as an acceptable option. Changing the tension on those bungees was a brutal experience for the fingers. So while the option to accommodate most weight sizes for various users is there, it's nice knowing the Cellerciser's tri-adaptable springs does that for me, and it's automatic. Knowing I'll never have to replace a worn out part on my Cellerciser is also very comforting. But just in case there's a random need to, Cellerciser wants to make sure they send you send two extra springs with every unit we send out, just in case somebody, if they're jumping high and they land on top of a spring, that's how it can fracture a spring. I've never broken a spring in my entire life, and I've been Cellercising daily for 30 years. Rather than having us to go a moment without our Cellerciser, we've got those two extra springs waiting for arrival for a replacement, or the very rare chance that you need to replace a spring. For what it's worth, the used Cellerciser I found for Mom that I drove 90 minutes away each way for is about 14 years old. The 84-year-old lady that had it treated herself to a trifold. All right, the mat seems to have had a cat or something that also appreciated it because there are little runs in the mat. That's all right. It's calendared, so those things won't run. It just, I had a customer whose kids took the Cellerciser out brand new, put it up against a tree and at an angle, and they threw rocks at it all day. Came home and all these little pinholes in it, and I said, it's not going to hurt. You can still use it. But he ended up getting a new mat anyway, so it just bothered him to look at it. So Mom has never noticed them, and the mat is so well made that I wouldn't notice if my OCD didn't kick in for me to fully evaluate a 14-year-old unit. Good for you. I use it all the time when I visit with her in the evenings in the living room. I called the Cellercise office to see if I should replace it, and they told me only if you want to spend the money for no reason. That says something right there. Is Bellicon a good rebounder? Yep. If you want to catch more air and have an outdoor trampoline experience indoors and feel like a kid again and a decent cardio workout, if that's your only need. But why for the price? Cellerciser can provide the same, better if I'm being honest, cardio option, only more stability. The mat is much more receptive and overall responsive for what I need it for. Catching air on it, if that's important, isn't a strength in comparison, but since catching air isn't what I consider an advantage, I'm still struggling to see any advantage that Bellicon has over Cellerciser. There just isn't any comparison. My muscles were hardly engaged on the Bellicon versus full resistance training on my Cellerciser. And the reason for that is that jumping high doesn't do a lot. I mean, trampolines, you can jump high too, and you jump high and do tricks. On the bungee cord units, you can jump high, but your cells aren't doing anything. They're just floating for a longer period of time. On a Cellerciser, and that's what it's for fitness. On a Cellerciser, your cells are flexing many more times per minute. The lymph system is pumping many more times per minute because it's more intense, but that's what it's built for. It's not built for jumping high. You can, but that's for tricks and for big trampolines. And so that's why we built the Cellerciser what we did. I feel like my Cellerciser is sitting there saying, what are we doing today? Because whatever it is, I'm ready. And you can throw all the curveballs at me and I've still got you, honey, no matter what. Bellicon says, oh, hey, I wasn't ready for you. Are you ready to jump? I've got you covered if you want to jump and even if you want to catch air. Bottom line, Cellerciser is without a doubt the best there is. Hands down, I was honestly blown away at how Bellicon gets so much rave. I know LNR is a good dupe for Bellicon and almost went with them solely based on price, but that story was an epic fail by customer service, and I consider it a blessing in disguise because it was rolled out from the 4 rebounders and narrowed down to after months of research. This is unsolicited. I wrote her and I said, hey, after reading this, I said, would you mind if I shared this with our Cellercise family? Because I think it's helpful to know. The whole objective of when I started this, the bungee cord units were around the 70s and then they just fizzled out. And people went to steel springs. Well, initially they were fine, and then cheap steel springs started to be produced. And if the steel in the spring is not strong enough, then it stretches out or doesn't have enough movement or enough support, you just sink. And if that's the case, then you don't get the benefit of what we're working to achieve, which you can on the Cellercisers. Okay, so those are customer reviews. Let me read some questions, and feel free to keep those questions coming in. Brooklyn, if you have any more, let me know. Thanks. It says, would you please discuss using 1, 2, and 3 pound hand weights, bungee stretching bars, resistance bands while health bouncing? Thank you. Well, I feel, a lot like what was mentioned earlier with regards to Charles Atlas. Why? I mean, you can. I don't. I just do resistance movements. I use my own strength. That way I'm not going to put too much stress or tension on a ligament or a tendon. And when I'm Cellercising using my own strength, I don't hurt myself. I've tried using weights before, and I went through probably 2 months of working on my shoulders and the scapula area because of what it had done. When you're jumping with weight, whatever that weight is, say it's 2 pounds, it's not 2 pounds when you're jumping with it. It's a lot more, and if it's leveraged in the wrong position, you can cause some real tendon problems. So I just do the resistance movements. I never see a dog, a cat, or a monkey, or any other species of animal using weights or bungee cords or any dynamic tension exercise equipment. They use their own weight, and they jump and they hang from trees, and they would do whatever it is. Cellercise is, I just use my natural weight, and I increase that weight by bouncing, and it works. Now, if you want to do weightlifting or weight training, that's fine. I think I've talked about that before too. If you do 30 seconds of Cellercising in between each station, you can grow up to 26% faster. That's according to a study that's done by Dr. Larry Getman, PhD. And that, we have a bodybuilder that's on our DVD, Cellercise the Ultimate Exercise. He won 3 national championships incorporating Cellercise with his weightlifting program. Was blown away. He's one of my fans. I'm one of his fans, and he's a dynamic guy. His name's Wade Lightheart. But yeah.
This person says, I try to rebound daily but have neck pain if I exercise over 5 minutes. What am I doing wrong? Nothing,
probably. And you're doing movements that might be irritating it. But neck issues, those are delicate issues. And depending on what you're doing, and that's what I'd really like, I need to know what kind of movements you're doing. The gentle movement up and down and gently massaging and pushing that circulation between those vertebral joints and those discs can help release the stress and tension, increase flexibility, promote healing, reduce inflammation. So those are all good movements. It can take time. What it's doing is exposing a weakness, so you might want to see a doctor or a chiropractor and see what you're up against. And feel free to give me a call if I might be able to help. Okay. I oiled my Cellerciser with the 3-in-1, but I'm still having noise on a few springs. What can I do? Bounce. It's normal. You know, in fact, I wasn't trying to pick a fight with Bellicon at all, but they were trying to pick a fight with me several years ago when they made our unit sound really, really squeaky. We actually had one person who claimed to work with them and said they'd put lemon juice on both ends of each spring so they would make it squeakier. Irrespective, the bungee cords can over time become squeaky and you can't oil them. But on the Cellerciser, I want you to listen to my unit because it's just like yours. And then we'll talk a little bit about how to expedite that, getting rid of that squeaking as you're breaking in the Cellerciser. But listen to how squeaky this is. I don't know if you can hear anything. I'm talking and jumping side to side. It's not squeaky. When you first get a Cellerciser, the steel has rough edges on it. And you start to bounce up and down, the steel is going across those rough edges. And it's starting to smooth them out. And over time, it can just become quieter simply by jumping on it. But if you put a drop of the 3-in-1 oil on it and you jump on it, what happens over time is that steel becomes very polished. As it becomes more and more polished, it breaks in and becomes quieter and quieter and quieter. And then I oil mine maybe once a year now, pretty close to that. And when you first start off, you may have to oil it initially the first time, jump on a little bit, oil it again, and then a few months later, do it again, and 6 months after that, do it again, and then it gets the space between oiling gets further and further and further apart, so that it just becomes a quiet unit. All right. I hope that helps. How to tone up the arms faster. And that, again, that's doing the resistance movements. And I know we've talked about it before, but just pushing down and pulling up. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then down. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you're doing that, you count up to 20. 2, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. And when you're done with the one arm, you're pushing down. So you're working the front part of the arm, but you're also working the back part of the arm. And then you just switch and do the other side. That's a way to really tighten and tone and also increase the strength of the arms, which again, the thing that Charles Atlas did. But you're adding more weight to it because you're Cellercising. And how young can kids start? Brooklyn, how young were you? A year. Daxon was what? He was bouncing on it before he was walking. So we had him, that was my grandson. And my daughter's the same way. We would hold on to their hands and gently bounce them up and down. You know, I was telling a customer earlier today, we have my grandson. I went over to my daughter's house, Jenna. Many of you know her from our website. She's in the chat room often. And I went over to her house, and she's got a sunken living room, and the kitchen was up above, and they have railing on the side. And I walked in, they've got a Cellerciser in the living room on the floor, and my grandson was holding on to the railing, standing over the Cellerciser. He jumped, I don't know, he's 3, 4 years old. He jumps off the ledge, lands on the Cellerciser, does a full flip in the air, and lands on the beanbag chair several feet away. And I'm like, I was nervous, and Jenna grew up on the Cellerciser. That guy is so incredibly coordinated. He's been challenging his balance and timing and dexterity for years. There are things that he can do today are remarkable, really remarkable. But yeah, start them off early. I used to burp our children, bouncing them down on a Cellerciser. It's a great way to burp them, but they had the benefit, and so did I. So the movement up and down, children need that movement. They do it naturally when they stand up in a crib anyway, and they bounce up and down. They don't have balance. That's how they get their balance. They're moving fluid past the stirrup, the smallest bone of our ear, representing our vestibular balance, and they're challenging.
Someone asked how to know if you've broken a spring.
How do you know if you've broken a spring? Well, part of the spring will be hanging down if you've broken one. Yeah.
And then someone has a question about knee pain and what kind of movements they should do for that.
There's several approaches on the knee that I teach because the knee can't support itself. So knee problem, and we've talked a lot about this in our previous programs, knee problems, hip problems, shoulder problems, back problems are generally caused by weaknesses or injury in the supporting muscles and ligaments around the joint. Now, the supporting muscles and ligaments that support the skeletal system are vitally important. If we don't have enough strength in those supporting muscles and ligaments, we get more pressure on the joint, and we can lose the fluid between the joint and the pads, and that's when we can get bone on bone. As we start to build up those supporting muscles and ligaments again, we're able to retain more fluid, and very often those conditions and issues slowly over time begin to fade away. So standing on the Cellerciser, keeping the back straight, and then the knees, well, we can start off always with the gentle baby bounce, because this movement warms up the tissue and it starts the circulation going. We want to get that circulation going. So any movement we do, the lymph system helps to suck or pull that circulation between the bones and joints. So this is do this for a couple minutes, and then by bending at the knee slightly, we can push down into the mat. As we're pushing down, we're working the whole front part of the knee. This is supporting this part of the knee, which is great. Very easy. You don't even have to lift your feet up off the mat, but you'll feel it. It's a great exercise. And then for the lateral knee, both sides of the knee, we simply stand up. Well, we can start off rocking side to side. This is a good movement here. And as we get stronger, we can hop side to side. And that's a great technique exercise too. And you just build up to it. I tell people, don't work hard on the Cellerciser. Play on it. It'll work hard on you. And then you'll just naturally want to and be able to put more effort into it. So again, why work out when you can play in? Okay. I've heard to wait until 6 or older as the body still is developing and too much on the spine and brain. Is that true? Not on a Cellerciser. We've never experienced that. No, it's natural. Jumping on the couch, jumping on the bed, jumping up and down on the ground is more jarring, of course, than jumping on a Cellerciser, because that jumping up and down on a hard surface, the jarring effect is what can be damaging. Cellercise eliminates up to 7/8 of the jarring, so you're not getting that jarring effect. You're simply getting the pumping effect, and that's stimulating up to 90% of brain activity. It's huge. Okay, which of the ultimate DVDs will I get if I order? Well, if you're doing it now during the holiday season, you're going to get the $40 DVD, which has got the personal trainer drop-down menu that lists over 20 different specific movements that address knee problems, hip problems, back problems, shoulder problems, digestion, elimination, weight loss, circulation, muscle building, the natural facelift, opening up bronchial tubes and lungs, and quite a bit more. Okay. Okay, I see 2 pictures of the DVD. One just you and the other with many people. Okay, there's many people on. Wow, where did you see that? I thought we got rid of that one. That was an old cover. And yeah, it's Don't Exercise, Cellercise. That's an old classic. You can get that still. That's it's me 25 years ago when I was teaching Cellercise. A lot of good material. But that's kind of what reignited the industry. And so we still make that available. It looks like a 25-year-old DVD, but I feel like a talking head. I'm just standing there telling people about the benefits and what we've experienced and different approaches. And it's a lot, it's less expensive. And you can get a downloadable version of that as well. Cellercise, the ultimate exercise, is me in front of about 3,000 people, and that's a live lecture, and I'm working with the audience as well. So, I heard that Cellercising can help asthma. Are you able to talk more about this? And that's just, my grandfather had asthma really bad when he was young, and he went out for track and field, and his lungs grew strong and didn't have any problems with it again. I think this Cellerciser opens up the bronchial tubes and the lungs simply by doing that. It's an exercise. It opens up those bronchial tubes and lungs. So, what do you do when you first get out of bed and jump on your Cellerciser? Not your actual workout, but just to get your lymph moving and wake up your body. And that's the most important technique that I teach, is simply this, moving up and down. Just like this. This moving up and down is the wake-up call. When you stop to think about what all is involved, and this is the reason I think every single household, absolutely, especially with what we're dealing with today, needs to have a Cellerciser. It's the movement up and down that activates the lymph system, breaks up blockages, helps get rid of stress and tension, increases circulation, backflushes the valves, helps get rid of trapped blood proteins, helps reduce inflammation. It's the wake-up call for the entire body. The thyroid, the adrenals are all weightless weight. They're all being massaged over 100 times a minute simply by moving up and down on the Cellerciser. And then there's a whole bunch of additional benefits, of course, but that gentle movement up and down is the wake-up call. Says, do you do a gentle jump for a few minutes, or do you do the fast jog and boost your immunity? Now, I do the gentle movement, always the wake-up call first, to get the body. I don't want to throw it into too much of a shock or initially. So it's a gentle. It's like warming up a car. The same principle. You're warming up the body, getting all the circulation going, and then you can go more intensely. Do we have any other questions, Brooklyn? Okay. On the trifold Cellerciser, I will demonstrate which one. I meant to have one tonight. I didn't bring it in here. I could do it on this. Yeah. Can you see me all right? I'm going to show you real quick. We're going to break this down. You can see how I break this down too. So we've got our new monitor, and many of you have ordered one, and we're already back ordered, so I apologize for that, but they are a nice little simple monitor that goes in. It shows you the number of bounces even when you're doing the Jamba run. It keeps track of it. Amazing. It uses an oscillator. We filed a patent on this thing because we have more we want to do with it. But we also have, it tells you the calorie burn. It tells you the total amount of time. And it has an intensity meter that goes up and down with colored light as well. And of course, let's just take it off. So I'm going to drop this down. Just took the balance bar off. Pretty easy. And then I'll put the rubber feet back on. And on a trifold Cellerciser, when you lay it down, can you see this all right, Bricky? Okay, I just grab the legs, I just fold them over, and again, when they're a brand new unit, those legs can be a little stickier. That's okay. Then I usually put my knee on the bottom, but you just bend over, pick it up, fold it in half, and then I grab here, I fold it into thirds. Now, if I had the carrying case with you, which I wish I did, you can put the Cellerciser now into the carrying case, and sometimes the springs on a new unit are stuck in an upward position. And so you say, hey, well, this is really tight. The carrying case is really tight. Well, if you take and with your fingers, you grab the actual mat and give it a little tug up, just a hard pull up, and lay it over, you can lay the springs flat. And now they are because it's broken in. But when you lay those springs flat, it'll fit easier into the carrying case. So hopefully that helps a little bit. And then I try to use the same two legs for the balance bar, because just the nature of the balance bar rubbing against the legs is going to leave marks onto the legs. So and voila. Hopefully that helps, because I know some people have had some issues with the balance bars, and it doesn't have to be a challenge. But feel free again to call me if you have any questions. I want to thank you for participating tonight. I want to encourage each one of you to continue to be an example of light and love and hope and joy, and to serve the God of joy. Every day it's a choice. And the pursuit of happiness is exactly that. It's a pursuit. So we'll be tested, we'll be challenged, pursue the happiness. Every day that you are on the Cellerciser, you're successful. So you'll just continue in that journey. Enjoy the journey. And again, call us if we can be of any help, and share it with those that you love and those that you care about. And thank you for sharing with me and being part of our Cellercise family. God bless.